The views expressed in the following show are of the host, the guest, and the callers. The content of the following show, its accuracy, authenticity, and the ramifications of the use or application of said content is the responsibility of those speaking and listening, not the broadcast medium.
All right, we are back and we are live. Beat to the Fire. I'm your host, James Athayanchik, the Black Knight of Talk Radio, looking from behind and then to the magic of green screen. Here we are live. Well, it's Super Bowl weekend, and in the past I've done shows not even knowing it's a Super Bowl and not even knowing who's playing in the Super Bowl. I know it's coming today because of all the hoopla about the, quote, false flag that's coming, or alleged to come, or feared to come during the game. And, well, if that were to happen, it would be the first time in my life, anyway, that a, quote, false flag or some type of terrorist attack was watched for. Now people can go back, and they can go back in time, and with the benefit of hindsight, notice somebody said something in generic form that can be applied. One of the famous videos is Alex Jones in his cable access days talking about planes hitting the towers and all that, which wouldn't be a prediction in as much as it would be one of the things that could happen. But then people bring up about how during 9/11, during the Boston Marathon and others, they had in place live drills protecting those very items, and then they had theorizing that first responders and so forth would be in place, or some kind of infrastructure would be there, or the guard would be down because, hey, it's a war game. And citing that there has been FBI videos tweeted out showing the literally years of being prepared for this event. But again, the whole purpose of a device like that is to catch people off guard at any given moment. I mean, for example, you may have somebody drive up with a van and run over some people, and that's not a surprise given it's happened several times, and you may be in an area that it would be a good target, but there are a lot of target areas, so that when it does happen, it is a surprise. This would be not a surprise, and I think just on the whole purpose and logic of one of those, one can conclude that this will not happen, which is my personal look at it. And it doesn't mean that we're not ripe for some diversion to happen, because with the first year in office, speaking the State of the Union being what it was, what it said, and then the FISA memo being released and what it says, and the mainstream media and the left politicians absolutely just bold-faced ignoring and outright lying on what is in the memo, what it was talking about. These are all issues that obviously point to some diversion to take the attention off. Some people have said that the false alarm in Hawaii was a real attack of some type, a false flag type, which was neutralized, and then the cover story of being a false alarm came out. Because it was covered so well, they didn't need to have any actual reasons or whatnot. You know, people who've known me for years, I listen. Maybe I don't know if I'm getting older or I've done this for a while. I'm 15th year, and I get tired from the people just saying stuff. Well, it could happen. Well, yeah, it could happen. People do win the lottery, but when you buy a lottery ticket, do you honestly believe you're going to win? The odds are so overwhelmingly against you that you have to assume you're going to lose, but you never know. Somebody does win, and, you know, odds do work out. So when you're talking about these things, I think it does a disservice in that people are going to grow cold, as warned in some prophetic texts. Due to what's going on in the world, people will just grow cold compassionately, vigilantly, and so forth. I think what you'll see, people are wondering when they're going to arrest people and what's going to happen. And, you know, and the way I look at it is history is done and how the denying is so vehement. It's not going to happen because, you know, I like the movie The Matrix. I thought it was somewhat kind of like a modern spiritual work. And I do think there's truth contained in The Matrix, how things work, which is basically I'll get to in a bit with our attention. But there also was a response to that in later Matrix where you have the programmer. I think wasn't it the programmer who basically programmed Neo like a rat through mazes, but then had responses all the way planned, no matter what he did. So, in other words, whatever he may have done or would do, there was a program response to it, thwarting it. And it was more like just enjoying the rat going through the maze again and again and again. You know, I think that was tacked on to combat the principles in the first. But there is a bit of interest in that where I do think that the powers that be, they have nothing to do but plan and co-plan and have plans in case of plans. And I think their goal is to, and I think this is what was going to go on with Hillary Clinton, was to simply quietly bring down the, you know, the maverickness of the American spirit, that freedom, free spirit type thing, kind of put it to sleep. The older ones would die off. The younger ones have been programmed in school. Was it the architect? Oh, okay, thanks. The architect, that programmer. Well, so I think that was the plan. It was put, kind of lull everybody to sleep. The old die out. The new are programmed, and so on, and go into a world order type, which would be the desired result. The powers that be don't want to have a war. They want to fight. They don't want to have it messy. They would like it calmly, just to kind of slip on into something else. And what happened was Donald Trump made it through. He woke up these people who were slipping away. Some of the people who are current and younger and old are seeing through the plans by both left and right in terms of neocons and the extreme left or whatever. And they voted for Trump. And Trump's personality, which isn't politically correct and so forth, his personality allows him to punch through all of this, because most politicians would have folded their hand after the P tape, pussy tape as it's called, came out, and Trump came back with double-fisted whammy. And I think it took a person like this to cut through this aspect of it. And it doesn't mean that I actually think I wouldn't do what Trump has done, but that doesn't mean I'm right and he's wrong. In fact, it means that I would be inadequate for the task at hand, no matter what my logic's and virtue within it. And, of course, there's been people, as I've been reading, people are saying Trump's part of the old guard, he's a Mason, and they come up with all the stuff. They show some pictures of Trump with kids. But that's, to me, all those things, well, I don't know, the kids, I don't buy that at all, but anything that may have been done in the past by Donald Trump, and if you look to examples throughout the philosophical past, be it religious or otherwise, you have the person who is in and kind of part of, and then you have this redemptive aspect of trying to make amends, if not for personal actions, for class actions. And I think this is a classic case of this now. Doesn't mean he's a saint. In fact, one of the problems is throughout history, we have whitewashed all our saints and made them to be this, ooh, kind of stuff. No, the saints in the past, I think, has been shown by David, who, you know, had his friend stationed him in the front to get killed so he can get his wife. This is like after David's already been the kid, you know, with the slingshot and the whole 9 yards. So you see that the people who are the, quote, saints in reality have all kinds of problems like everyone else, but they have certain strong suits, be it in a worldly sense that's needed at the time and or spiritual, or both to some degree, that are needed at the time, and they step up and do the thing at the time. And from that, a mild redemption can go. So that this is how I kind of look at it. There's no saints in this, but there are people who have stepped up when called, and that includes any one of us, anyone in the world, who have stepped up and done something to help somebody, especially if they have been doing the contrary. I mean, look at Paul. Paul the Apostle, Saul, Paul, come on. He was out killing Christians, then he became apostle. If you want to go with that line, I mean, there it is. So the person, and if you look at, I hate to cite like movies like Star Wars, some kind of a, but Darth Vader was in position to kill the Emperor. And only Darth Vader at that time was in position. And what was left in Darth Vader was that little bit of a glow of hope that his son sensed and ignited. Now, Darth Vader did all kinds of terrible stuff. Killing at random and willing and planets and whatever. But because at that moment in time, the only one who was in position did step up and do that right thing, the redemption from that was Legion. And that's what I think we all have to really remember, that when we're going through life, we're not all being looked at to be some kind of hero and do some big thing. Though, you never know, right? But the aspect is to do when you feel, when you got this internal thing to do the right thing, and you step up to it. Now, I'm not saying doing the right thing is killing left adjutants or whatever. It's not what I'm talking about. Specifically, I'm saying no, because that would play into a political hand. But just be available for God to speak to your insides to do the right thing. I mean, it could be helping a puppy, I mean, a person, an elderly individual, or someone who is in some type of, and this to me I think is typical, is in some type of need, and then the spiritual chessboard is maneuvered so that you're there. Free will, you don't have to. But you see a need and you do it. And Jesus talked about this. Someone asks you to walk a mile, go 2. Someone wants your shirt, give them your cloak. The aspect of it is not to legalistically do this, in as much as make sure that when there's a need, you be God with skin on and use your talents and resources that have been honed for that time to do that thing. And this is what I think we should be looking to going into this time, because after going through I'm not going to go through the memo and all this stuff. There's 100,000 people doing it. In fact, I got links on the website. We'll get to it. Someone like Stephen Molyneux, like his sarcasm or not, he did a great job going through it, all the ramifications. So I'll point to that link rather than me just doing my own. But what I do want to mention is that we're sitting in a time in history where, I'm 60. I didn't really pay attention to a lot of things when I was in politically, up until, for that matter, recently. But throughout history, you haven't had these circumstances, and it's important that there is follow-through, because all that's happened to now is done nothing but agitate people unless there's follow-through, unless there are actual trials and all whatnot. And one thing I can guarantee is that the left, extreme left, I don't know what you want to call them, they are the neo-Bolsheviks, that's what I would call them, the neo-Maoists, the neo-communists, not in the red sense, but in the Soviet sense, not in the book sense, but the Soviet sense. They're not going to just go, oh, well, you know what, you guys did pretty good, okay, we'll just go off. Some may retire and go off, but some have too much at stake, not only in their ego, but in the actual guilt that they do have, that if this continues onward, as to quote a alleged source, I want to get that email. I think it's an email, but I've heard it where Hillary says that, you know, if he wins, we'll all hang by the gallows. This is the kind of thing you're talking about. These people, you know, the knights in shining armor, if you want to look at them that way, the good guys are coming in trying to right wrong. You know, this is wrong. They've done this. We're going to switch that. And that's fine. I mean, I'm not making fun, but the people on the other side are fighting for their life. They're fighting for all the materialistic power and things that they have fought all their life from. They have killed for. They have lied, cheated, steal, bribes, the whole line. They've done all their life. And right now, they're poised at the edge of it collapsing. And in fact, them actually being punished for it or what have you. There is no limit that they won't do. Some individuals may have limits because of how far they're in. But those who are all the way in, they will go all the way down to stop. Well, they will go all the way to extreme to stop going down. And it includes nuclear attacks with using North Korea as a tool or a patsy, and including crashing all the markets, including assassinating presidents or anyone else. Including, perhaps look at this train thing, maybe this is the stuff that is at stake here. You're talking about people who we would say in a colloquial sense don't have a soul. I mean, it may be corrupted, it may be hidden or whatever. My point is that this is what's at stake here. So not only do we sit here, and this is why I get aggravated when I see people on the internet talking like, they're falling down, they're coming now, we're going to get her. They got Hillary in orange suit, the orange is the new black suit, so to speak. They got all this stuff going on. I'm going, the people who you're fighting against it's not like chess where you resign or you negotiate a settlement. I mean, it's possible that some insider who is really high could actually come forward and negotiate not being sent to the gallows for being if they have enough information. It's possible, but the general people are so in it. And if you look at it, if you try to look at it in a what will be the word? Kind of like, I don't want to say prophetic sense, but in a culminating sense, like this is the end of the ages. Let's say we're culminating in this. Let's just say, look at it that way. Don't get into detailed specifics. What you're looking at coming into this place is like a final showdown, because if the Trump side, and I just use that loosely, fails, you can bet that there will be those people who are, if Trump is arrested and tried and convicted, whatever, he will, quote, die in prison, unquote. That was said by a deep space guy, and I'd like somebody to send me a link to that video. I saw that. And they will punish everybody, and all of the people who voted for Trump will suffer dramatically because they have to. They almost lost. If this is the case, they almost lost. So they will have to absolutely turn up, step up, and crush the opposition. And don't get all arrogant and go, America's got the most weapons, they got the most people, that's the most armed. That's all true and all that. But with the electronics that they have, that if the military, and I said this I wrote this out in Facebook somewhere, if it's all about the military, if the military follow Trump and what's going on in revealing the deep state and going on, if they're backing him, then the left will become the insurgents, okay? If the military backs the left, then the Trumpian and the Patriots will be the insurgents, and you will see an American version of Vietnam, of Iraq, Afghanistan, Syria, where you have just blown out cities, this is what we're talking about here in a potential. I'm not getting exaggerated. I'm not being pessimistic. I'm talking like looking at the analysis on the board. This is the stakes that we have here. Now we still have to, I would still say, yes, you have to go for truth. what is truth and honest and reality has to rule, because if not, this whole world is shot. Because, when you step off a cliff, no matter how much you believe you can fly, you're going to fall down in there. And I know some people, especially in the New Age, will say, well, you could fly, and it's maybe possible. But you can't just believe you can fly. You have to tap into your conscious control of the real-world physics infrastructure that could allow you to fly in a metaphysical sense. You just can't believe it, okay? Anyway, I got off track here, but that's what's at stake here. This is why I'm not out there cheerleading, and when I see Fox News stepping up, hey, they were well against Trump in the beginning, okay? So some of the people may have had their own brush with redemption, with a challenge, and is stepping up. I don't know. And, of course, throughout the internet world, you have various people who are doing it, and you have to stand up for this. Now, this is why I'm not excited. I mean, we are living in times that are tremendous, and that if all goes well, we can look back, or our descendants will look back to this time as we might look back to our Revolutionary War type thing, and there will be aspects of it or whatever. It there might be analogs there, but you're talking about weapon. And back in the Revolutionary War day, an individual can own the same weaponry level as governments do. I mean, a ship with a bunch of men would be expensive, but there were guys who owned them, right? You could actually buy the same weapons the government has. Not the case today, by a bazillion times over. So don't get all G.I. Joe gun-ho and ready to hit the streets and say, yeah, we want a hot war, we want a hot revolution, because the best case scenario, if Trump is supported by the military, the left wing, which is all the way up in the system, which could have assassinations inside, and will become insurgents, and they will be well-fed, well-armed by those backing them. So it's not going to be a cakewalk. And the best case scenario would be if Trump is supported. Then the worst case scenario is if he's not supported. They will seek to crush at all costs, have the greatest depression in history, have the greatest meltdown, because they got everything they need. Have them, even their own stooges, fighting against us. Fine, kill them all. We don't care, because we will bring in an entire world to fill in our shoes, billions in the world. So, I mean, this is where I'm not trying to get negative. I'm not trying to get sad, depressive. I'm trying to be real here. And so this is why when people are criticizing Trump for very little things, like, well, and now there's stories about him and his wife and all this. Now, a lot of this is on the left, right? They got to say everything bad. But I see plenty of people who are saying that Trump's, a Mason, and he's part of the world order, and it's all part of a plan that's going on. I don't think so. The stuff that's going on is too helter-skelter to be planned. So, anyway, let me get into the news, some of which I probably already covered inadvertently. And then I want to say one more thing about what I'm talking about here. And let me get into this mode webpage. For those who, I guess the Super Bowl is going on, because just before airtime, I saw this news item that said that the opening events happened. They sang America the Beautiful and National Anthem. All players stood. They had a big hoopla with a big flag, and everybody was into it. Pink sang the National Anthem and had a flyover with the Jets. So it would appear that the NFL teams have talked to the players because they were all standing in. There are some people who may have looked a little antsy and all that, but there was not a unified, okay, we'll stand, but we're going to kneel by doing this. I didn't see that. So however it sits with you for whatever reason. Let me see if I got anything important here. All right. So that is that article. That was, see, like the Science of the Times, SOTT.net. They write their own articles, but they're aggregate as well. And a lot of times I will include their article because of their commentary that goes along with it. And the FISA memo does allude to all of these people being propagandists, which we know that by their actions. And there's the link. I'll include it in the links below when I post this. That's a pretty good walkthrough by Stefan Molyneux. If you're going to watch one commentary about the FISA memo, I think that would probably be a good one. It says here, according to this, the FBI is ticked about the memo, and they're going to play a game against Trump and all that. I think this is propaganda. Personally, I think a lot of the FBI people are people doing their job, going to whatever, and it's the people at the top. So I wrote a comment to this saying, "Both the FBI assume is legit. If not, it doesn't matter because we're all effed anyway." And then I go into a little bit of what I just said about the insurgents and all that, so I'll let that go. This is something probably worth seeing because this was a moment. I call it every so moment. God will give you a window to the soul. Like, in spite of themselves, it's like their guard is dropped, and they'll say something extremely honest from the heart, and it is it's a mistake if they're liars and whatnot. But this, to me, I thought was a good. Let me see if I can get this video running here. I'm going to have to go to the wide screen on this.
Shot, this antagonism, this taunting to the intelligence community.
You take on the intelligence community, they have 6 ways from Sunday at getting back at you. So even for a practical, supposedly hard-nosed businessman, he's being really dumb to do this.
What do you think the intelligence community would do if they were motivated?
I don't know, but from what...
You notice that Rachel Maddow was kind of like frowning, like, well, what do you think they would do? So, this is kind of telltaling that she may be on the left side, but she may be an idealist as opposed to a scumbagist.
Told they are very upset with how he has.
Yeah. So there is a little talk about a window to the soul. He just gave a very good. Not only and you notice his face, the smile and the smirk. He wants them to take him down and hurt him bad because he dares stand up to them. It's very good. It's a very good window to the soul, and I'll have links to all this stuff for reference. Acquiescence. You could probably read this. I'm going to say science has discovered, and then someone says the scientism. I'm going to say science has discovered, and then quote some utter nonsense I know nothing about, as you will accept it without question. This is scientism. In acquiescence, the reluctant acceptance of something without protest. In silent acquiescence, she rose to her feet. Synonyms include consent to, agree to, allow, concede, and so on, blah, 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 blah. So if somebody says, well, science is proven, that statement is nothing unless they provide that proof. It goes back into the arguments of the fallacies of authority. Because someone's in authority or quotes authority, then it must be true. No, it's absolutely untrue. I like that. I found it came in my news feed and I passed it back. Ron Paul, pleased with the release of the memo, but he wants to see the paperwork behind it. I agree. Malcolm X. Now, Malcolm, if you listen to a relaunch Malcolm X stuff, it's not that the man. This is an example of what I would talk about. We'll call a quote saint in a real sense, where you have someone who has these ideals, and he himself saw the flaws in the Black Muslim movement, eventually relieving it, because he was an idealist to the principles that were contained. And then when he saw it not happening, he said the ideals are good, the people around him weren't good. And he saw a lot of stuff. And today, he was killed probably by the Black Muslim group at the time because of his damage, we'll call it. And it is, it's great. And here's a quote on the media. This is the media, an irresponsible media. It will make the criminal look like he's the victim and make the victim look like he's the criminal. If you aren't careful, the media will have you hating the people who are being oppressed and loving the people who are doing the oppression. This is a sort of propaganda tactic that I would call psychological warfare. Amen. Amen. I wrote underneath, if I could pick one person from history to bring back, let's say, I think it'd be Malcolm X. Because you could bring up all kinds of other people, but because this man saw so clearly through, this is in the 60s, saw through, quoting the white liberal and how they are using the black man, and quoting the media, quoting the systems, how the system was using blacks and so forth. And and it applies to anybody in that category. I mean, anybody who fits in the category, not just being black. So it was very, very amazing stuff. And I have to find it. Like, somebody who listened to the show sent me a link to a place that was selling video and audio of Malcolm X, and I got a CD that I've listened to, but it's been a long time. I got to find it again. There's a nice, for those listening on the audio feed, I guess you can go on our website and you can look up these links. So I wanted to mention that because we do have an audio. Let me see if I can stop here and do this. I did work on the audio archives because I got stuff up that goes back to 2003, and a lot of times I'll read articles and people will quote guests, and then I'll end up posting my interviews with them. So far, no one is mine. I'm trying to enhance the pool of information. It has nothing to do with me personally. But I did go and I did some work on the audio portion. If you have an audio RSS feed reader, I don't know what they call them now, but iTunes is an example. Right in this highlight, you can put that in your feed and subscribe, and you will get every show on Spreaker. And I put up a lot of the old ones on Spreaker. And you can listen directly online on our website with the Spreaker app, or you can use the Spreaker app in your phone or your tablet. That's probably the simplest way for the audio. Video, if you subscribe to the YouTube channel, you automatically get noticed to it. So that's the best way to do that. Like and subscribe. That also helps the numbers go up. It helps people, oh, this guy must be saying something. 1,600 people are listening. Of course, people laugh at that in 200,000, but the idea is that spreading the information is what counts. I also have a legacy website that I worked on. Let me go to that. If you go to feet2fire.com, or if you just click the link on feet2thefireradio.com, you go to this. And so you can go to the YouTube channel and see the HD videos. There's this same link that you can add to your podcast reader. You can go through year by year and search through the shows. As you get toward the end, not all the shows are posted, but they're all there for download. Or you can use the search idea. So you can type in something, Ed Dames. And what will come up, and you'll see the links to the shows. There'll be ads, of course, because it's Google. And then you'll have links to the shows where I had Ed Dames on. So that's something I recommend people doing if they want to catch up on some of the stuff throughout the past on the show for those who are new. This is our 15th year, and this is the first year we've done the videos. And the videos aren't necessarily like dramatically fantastic. It's just another way to talk. Oh, I got the wrong. There we go. That looks better. Well, you still saw the gist of it anyway. So, and then you can click on the show. It brings up the page for that show, tells you all about what happened that week. And on the at the top, you can download the show by clicking on MP3. So I think we're done with that. Let's go back to, I have to look down. We'll get it. We're going to get it. We're going to get it. There we go. Looking down at the chat. Yeah, Zindy said she listened, or I should say he. I don't know. I see the I at the end. Excuse me. I don't know the genders. It doesn't matter. So, Zindy had listened to many shows. Listened to Red Elk. Yeah, I had talked to him. He was, those are kind of the fun days where you sit and you talk about to these people who are kind of wild, but got some very interesting stuff. And now I find myself watching, waiting for the survival of our planet. Got kind of sucked in there, and I pulled back out when I was went in the hospital, and I got sucked back a little bit, but I'm keeping it, trying to keep it at bay. Yeah, I guess you got to clip the bell in order to get. This is why I'm lousy. I'm not into marketing. That's being explained, but yeah, you got to. So when you subscribe, you still have to click the bell or something to get notified. So I should mention that. Nice little graphic here on FBI desk. All the Hillary evidence is mounded up, and all the boxes full of it. The Trump evidence is empty, and it's got a horse saying, "That's why we need to keep investigating," because they're looking to find that one little thing, which they will turn into a big thing to incarcerate. If they find anything that they can incarcerate Trump by, they will. Anything. This is a fight to the death, literally. Both the idealistic and physical and economical death. Now, I'm bringing this up again, and I brought it up before, and I'm sorry if I keep doing this. I was talking in the chat room with one of the guys, and I forgot who, and they actually went out and followed through on this. But there's an article about the market is on the edge of chaos. It's in a position that like anything could happen, and it's like I like the way they have the pictures of it. Any kind of rolling, you can. It's very volatile right now. It's on the good faith of Trump, and for its future. And this is why, if you look up there, I'll put the links when I put together the bottom. I put 2 links to shows with Lionel about how you can buy into the ETF funds, and you can use ETF funds, which are they're down to $10. I just looked. I bought it. It was 13. It's down to 10, and that's fine because the market has risen since I bought it. But that $10 fund share was over $100,000 in 2008 when the market crashed. See, this is what you're doing. So for $10. You can buy yourself, plus the transaction fee, which I don't know what it is. I think it's a percentage. You can buy a share, and that's it. And if the economy does great, that's fine. You lost $10. But you had an insurance policy, is how I look at it, against the market crashing, which I can't see how it won't. Okay? If Trump continues with his economic recovery and they are able to stop increased spending and actually stop spending, and the revenue is increased by the growing of the GNP, it is theoretically possible that it will take a number of years. I saw a guy who mentioned if you can stop your increasing in spending, and I think it was cut 10% in the increases. Every year, your increase is 10% less than what it would have been. I think it was something like that. And by cutting the taxes and doing all this stuff, you build up the economy. The GNP will go up high enough so that you'll get in more revenue, and it eventually would balance out, even though it's $20 trillion. So that is possible, and that's why I hope happens. But in case it doesn't, there are several different funds you can buy into in different areas of the markets for just a matter of $100. Let's say you can buy in all of these little areas, and you will literally be a millionaire or 100,000-aire, $100,000 in the case, which you want to then try and transfer that money. Because in the beginning, when it crashed, the dollar will be huge, because it'll be a way to do it, and your banks will be closed. So this is where the trick is to pull that stuff out, get it in cash, or get it in some kind of currency that it'll work. All right, I don't want to keep talking about that. You watch the show and it goes through it. Here is an example Hannity went through and did. Again, Hannity being I never liked him years ago because I thought he was a partisan hack. And he may be, but he's taken a high road in his partisanship because of the low road that it's coming at him. This would be another good one to watch if you're something into more of a less dry, I guess, than Stefan. Though he's got a lot of And I want to mention also about this memo, if I could say probably one more thing about it. The reason why this memo is so important is it shows very illegal action and intent that may be understood better by comparing to Watergate. A White House used its powers to cover up the actions of a hired band of civilians who attempted to gain information illegally for political gains. The memo proves that the FBI and DOJ and possibly the White House directly used governmental apparatus to gain information illegally with the intent to prevent and then overturn the legal election of the president. Okay? A lot different. Not that I'm saying Watergate's okay. Big difference. This is huge. This is huge. Okay, so, all right, I'll let that go. James Wood, he had a great tweet on the FISA, how they summed it up. You know what? I'll just leave those links because I'm me reading through all that article. I'll just leave the links for it. Great. This is great. I said I love the internet and I love YouTube. I call it the YouTube time machine. This is CNN. President floats conspiracy theories. Trump suggests that the dossier by a former British spy was funded by Russia and the FBI, Democrats and the FBI. Guess what? Trump was right. Trump said he was wiretapped. Guess what? He was. You know, and I think that people can get a little more respect for him and the office that he's in because he knew these things a long time ago and took heat for it and allowed the process to work its way through to the surface. And there you go. And I got other links. I'll put them down if people want to go through these. These are some of the links that I thought was pretty good on this. Twitter, the robots are out, and it's pretty funny because if you look at this, well, you can't see too well. John McCain just made a startling public statement against the Trump made the phony Nunes memo release, and all of these various people all released on their own the exact same text. This is the robots at work, and that was put out by Julia Assange. All right, what did I do? I got to go back to here, and I got to switch this here to here. Mark. Oh, Mark Zindi. Okay, I'm sorry, Mark. So it is Mark. I'm not a girl. A Star Trek episode. Okay. Now, there's another guy, Alex Jones. Gosh, you know, the guy does a lot to harm himself as well as do this stuff. But Alex Jones is, I mean, YouTube is coming out to post plans to combat state-sponsored content and conspiracy theories. Now, I love that. State-sponsored content. So a couple of I've been trying to monetize for the heck of it, monetize the YouTubes I do. And every single one of them gets nailed for not having materials that are friendly to advertisers. So it's not friendly here. Well, I guess, I don't know, truth or whatever. But so this was posted by conspiracy theory .net as well as I can't think of his name now. Gosh, I can see his face. It's a thing I have. I see the face. Can't think of the name. Rob Davin from Free Jack TV. And I said, so far be it forbidden from you two to have us make up our own minds. You know, it's totally fine for, let's say, Russia to take out and have people who are on Facebook talking about what Russia would like to have done. There's nothing wrong with that. Everyone does that. When people talk about buying toilet paper, they do the same thing. Dude, when's the last time they had people actually talking about the actual reason why their widget's better than their widget? They have measured it here. No, it's not. You got sexy men or women using the widget. Oh, so I'm going to be cool and use the widget too. It's all the same thing. This is why we should be trained about propaganda in school, not propagandized in school. Trained to spot it, see what it is, take it apart, look for the actual real data in there. You know, if I was going to buy a cologne, I'm not going to watch a TV show having a guy with women all over him, and I wouldn't recommend ladies do the same, because you have to go, look, do you like the smell? First off, would be a good thing, you know. You think it smells nice would be the reason, not because you're going to get the girl. Because if you... the logic behind this is so embarrassing. You're going to get the girl, quote unquote, because you use a certain cologne or you drink a certain soda, or come on. But this is the kind I'm talking about. YouTube is now going to go, you know what, this is possibly state-sponsored, like RT, for example. RT has got a lot of good stuff on it. Now, naturally, RT is not going to do exposés on the underbelly of Russia. I'm not going to expect that from them. But they're going to give information. They'll be more than happy to go after the underbelly of the United States, for example. And we need to go after that underbelly. Obviously, the mainstream media sure isn't doing it. They're going out of their way when the underbelly is staring them in the face. You know, so this is why I think this whole, it's all part of a concept to propagandize, and you can have propaganda by taking away. Yeah, this is not a talk about Alex Jones. Somebody in the classroom said Alex Jones sold out. This is not talking. It's not talking about Alex Jones. He was the face being used on that. It's the aspect that people have claimed that Alex Jones is Russia-sponsored, which I think is utterly ridiculous. In fact, I think you shouldn't be able to say that unless you could back it up with something. Because he quotes an RT. I quote RT. Hey, if I'm getting paid by state sponsorship, I'm getting rooked. Because I still got to go out and work a full weeks that so. Yeah, so then another thing is they were using the idea that the memo would do damage to the apparatus of the intelligence. It would release secrets and do all this stuff. And, of course, none of it did. It was all lies. When they say, and I've said this years ago, we now have, I think, proof. When they say it's a matter of national security, it's not a matter of national security per se. It's a matter of their security in the deep stateness and in the darkness. That is what the point is. Yeah, that's pretty good. I quoted Jack Posobiec. I got a link to the tweet. Imagine the reaction if Trump used Alex Jones clips and Paul Manafort reports in order of spying on Hillary Clinton. That's very good, because that Steele document was created. It's fictional, and they used it along with Yahoo News to get the FISA. Now, another thing I want to mention is Tom Fenton of Judicial Watch. If there's one political watchdog out there that I really am impressed with, is Judicial Watch, because they are suing the bejesus out of DOJ, the FBI, and so forth for freedom of information, for the tweets, for all this stuff, and I think that they're doing a good job on that. So I got links to him. Memo, no FISA warrant without the dossier, which means no Russian collusion story without the dossier, which means no Mueller special counsel without the dossier, paid for by Clinton, DSC, and FBI. Shut it down. And then you got McCain coming out saying, well, you know, it's got nothing to do with this, and it's shameful and all this. Man, I would like to see him retire. Go retire. Relax the rest of your life. Deal with your health issues. Because him and Lindsey Graham, those guys got to go. People, please, in those districts, please don't vote for them. Hopefully there'll be somebody running on with the patriot values that are running against him that will give you that option. Because voting for a Democrat won't be any better unless we're one of the few that actually aren't in lockstep on this. Right. This is a lot of divisive stuff, so I want to kind of let that go. I got links to the actual memo because this all happened. I think it was Friday, and I was actually at home. So I was very into watching and doing all this stuff. I think the president's lawyer has been doing pretty good too job of dealing with these things. And let me just kind of skip. I don't mention this. My sister had brought this up. This is a video of a person. This is a person who has a severe disease, and she told me what it was, and I cannot remember the name of it now. She even spelled it out phonetically, and I've lost it. But anyway, that it's a brain nerve damage, and this guy, the only relief he has is from. Let's see if I got.
Thank you all. Guilty of looking at that.
Look, this is how this guy has to live.
And that does happen.
I don't know.
This is how he lives. This is him doing this. He's got to move around because it's all nutty.
I feel like I don't have any.
And they show pictures of him after doing having marijuana. You can see this is all real time. You can watch this video. You can see as he's doing this, it slows down, and he can sit and have conversations and whatnot. This is the kind of stuff we're talking about here. I'm not looking to legalize marijuana so I can blow my brains out and get high. I'm looking at it for the medicinal qualities, which are legion, and I'm looking for hemp physical qualities, which are legion, clothes, building material, fiber, food. I mean, it's fantastic, and it's the single most, other than trafficking of children and whatnot, which is a deeper vein thing you got to do. This, to me, would be the most egregious thing being done to humanity by government, is by withholding public access to cannabis. If someone wants to get high, whatever. There's laws against driving cars for getting high, just like alcohol. You want to burn your brain out from it, that's your option, right? I'm looking at all the other options that would happen that have fantastic records of dealing with things. So I like this picture. It's good. An ancient picture of the god of Molech. I've heard this talked about, that they put fire underneath the bronze god Molech, and they place an infant in the hands, and the infant burns to death in the hands. This is what I've heard described from ancient scrolls. You might not believe in me, your politicians or your celebrities or your elite bankers. I mean, your politicians, your celebrities, your elite bankers, and the families that control your money and your information do believe. And that's all I need to control you. Now, whether you want to call it Molech, there is evidence. Baal is a version, would be another way of saying it. There is talk about get into the Anunnaki family, and you get into Marduk and others, are all words for the same deity, perhaps, or competing deities. And it's true about that statement. It does this deity doesn't even need to exist. It could be a complete fiction. But if people believe in it and act on it and do the things that they do in murdering and whatnot in it, does it matter if there isn't a Moloch? So the arguments whether they exist or not to me is irrelevant. Is that if people believe in it and they act on it. But I happen to believe they do exist, whether they're interdimensional beings, demon, whatever they are actually physically. Another great quote, Robert Heinlein. I've not seen this other than this, so I can't prove he said this, but it wouldn't surprise me. United States has become a place where entertainers, professional athletes are mistaken for people of importance. Yep. Truth. Let me see what's going on in the chat room here. Molech is the original abortion. Yeah. All right, see you, Rick. Cannabis has been here on Earth for 56,000 years. Yeah. It's funny. A lot of medicine comes from nature. And what had happened over the years is people had more time to pay attention, which I hope to get to shortly, into watching nature and watching how things work and noticing the results from it and then creating various medicines, basically supplements, concentrated supplements, if you will, to work on this stuff. This is interesting. This kind of went out a big hoopla. It's an executive order from Trump that basically keeps Guantanamo open. And one of the things I thought of was in the order is nothing in this order prevent the Attorney General from, as appropriate, investigating, detaining, and prosecuting a terrorist subject to the criminal laws and justification of the United States, which means that a United States citizen can be declared a terrorist and can go to Guantanamo. And the first thing I thought of, maybe it was a little optimistic, would be the deep state individuals that can be sent there. So, I don't know. Maybe it's a bluff. Maybe it's just the deep state apparatus that Trump is going along with and the military. I don't know. Oh, yeah. Magnetic field is shifting. Poles may shift and whatnot. Zero hedge. That could get bad. They're showing the fluxes in there. And we've had Mark Borcherding on here, and we'll have him back on again. He's wrote a comment to my sending this to attention. We are also heading into a grand solar minimum, and I can say that this is part of both the Hopi and the Mayans information. So that sounds like a show getting ready to be made there, but I wanted to post that. There's so much about this dossier. Let's see what this is. I didn't when I'm on the road and I use my phone for some reason, when I put a address, it doesn't expand out on Facebook. I have to do it manually. All right. Andrew McCabe under the active DOJ investigation for sitting on the Wiener laptop. Emails. It sat on the emails. And also, I just saw an article saying that the FBI was told about this guy who was molesting children, young ladies, and they sat on acting about it for quite a while, and something like 70 more were molested before they actually did something about it. So there is some problems going along in there, obviously, and it needs to be flushed out. So I definitely support going in and investigating this stuff. I want to mention about attention. Kind of took long, almost an hour already talking here. The idea of the attention, and I mentioned about the ancient peoples, didn't have TV. They didn't have this stuff. They had a lot of work to do. Okay, so that's true. But you had people who had in their spare time, they didn't have TV or the internet or what have you, both having good uses and bad. But they were able to use their attention. They watched things. They learned. When you pay attention, you're buying what your attention is paying for in time. This is why when I do the show, I don't take this for granted. I mean, people coming to listen here are paying attention to this what I'm saying. So I'm very humbled by that, and I'm not even claiming it's worth your attention. I hope it does serve a purpose, and this is why I do it. The idea of paying attention, this is what the world wants from you. It wants that from you more than your money, though your money is made by your attention. You go to work, whether it's a white-collar, blue-collar job, you are paying your attention. You are turning in your expertise of your consciousness is being given in return for this money. So even if these entities want your money, it is your attention. TV wants your attention, and they make money by you putting your attention on the TV. The commercials are, again, using your attention to convert it into money. The aspect of going, that's why would the Bolsheviks put so much emphasis on the schools? It's because the people are coming in there, paying their attention to the teacher, and the teacher is fooling them, is manipulating and filling them, withholding information, putting in baloney, and then steering. Because they know that those people then will, when they keep coming back and will keep paying attention. They did a study where they took Barack Obama's State of the Union address and claimed it was President Trump's, and they gave quotes from it to get people's opinion. And because they were trained by their lack of critical thinking attention, but just simply opening up the faucet and letting it fill in, that Donald Trump, bad. Anything he says is bad. So you take Barack Obama's words out of Donald Trump, bad. You put Donald Trump's words into Obama, but Obama, it's looked at as good. This is the aspect of it. You have to critically think with your own mind. And unfortunately, even people who are critically thinkers will get in a group, and there'll be a clique, and there'll be a guy who's in charge, and then the guy, and then this is guy or girl. It's all. That's why we individually need to be trained in our mind to be able to go through life and discern reality and truth from fantasy and manipulation. And there's nothing wrong with reading a novel or watching a fantasy television show in terms of having fun. It's like going to Disneyland, going on amusement rides. You can't spend your life on an amusement ride, but it's not bad to do. If you like it, it's a good thing to do on a weekend, once every summer, to have amusement rides, whatever. This is what we have to look at. We have to be guarded that when we're reading a book, watching TV, in specific TV or video, if you will, on a computer, you are paying attention. You are giving to that person or group or what have you. You're taking, here's my consciousness, I'm opening it up, and I'll pour stuff in. So you need to have that thing in the middle that's going to go, wait a minute, what's coming in here? Let me think about it. And I drive Lucinda nuts because I will sit and watch TV after work, commercials. I'll watch YouTube videos, mostly YouTube videos I'll do. Or I'll watch some DVD stuff. Even I've been watching some Friends episodes, and I've been looking at it going, wow, there's a lot of open, promiscuous sex being promoted here in a semi-innocent way. I'm going, boy, that must be what they must have been doing in the 90s. So, of course, I didn't watch TV back then. I went through like about a decade of not watching anything. And so they must have been promoting free sex, because when I watch Friends and Seinfeld, both of which I find funny, the underlying theme seems to be free sex. That's all they're looking for. I'm not going like, I don't know what planet I was on in the 90s. I wasn't. But I see the programming in it. And it ruins it if it's bad enough. Earlier episodes that these two mentioned, I thought were less. But this is the problem. I'll see these things, and I'll see the programming in them, and it ruins it. There is funny stuff in it, or there is information. I mean, I used to watch Nova all the time, Channel 11 when I was a kid. Channel 11, the Chicago PBS station. And I love watching Nova. And now I watch these stuff, and I'm correcting them. I'm saying, it's not a fact. They're putting it in there as a fact, and it isn't, and so on and so on. The whole climate gate is all because of people unable to critically think on a basic science level. It's like, how are you going to tell the planet, the temperature of the planet is rising? What are you going to do? It's a planet. Where are you going to take that temperature? And if you take that temperature, it has to be consistently in the same exact position with the same exact conditions. I mean, I'll give you an example. In Chicago, they used to take the temperature for Chicago at the lake, near the Lake Michigan. Now, it's cooler or warmer, depending on the season at the lake. So out in the actual Chicago area, it was always either warmer or cooler, depending on the season, than at the lake. So they moved to O'Hare Airport for the official temperature. Well, now they're breaking records in the time because they were in a different area that had different parameters, and they just simply moved it and did it. Same thing with the what is it called? Earthquakes, the seismograph. Now I'm seeing this stuff and I can't think of the name of it. The system for earthquakes. They actually lowered it, or raised it, however you want to say, 1 full point, so that what used to be 7 is now considered, was it 6? I think they moved it back 1. So that whatever you hear the number now, it's actually bigger than it was. And so it has succeeded in moving everything back down and everything forward down so that the numbers aren't compatible now. You have to go back and say, well, was that before the change? Oh, it's really this one? And this is crazy. Attention. So whatever you put your attention to, and what I've been doing a lot of, I've actually been taking off Fridays during the winter to try and to limit my exposure to winter. Very much hate it now. And it's something that's held over probably from when I was in the cold a few years ago when it was minus 20, day after day after day, week after week. I had breaks in between. It just broke something in me. But what I've been doing a lot on my time, of course, I have taxes to do, and I got all kinds of other stuff. In fact, you can look at the screen. See that table? That's taxes table. So, some of my time, I've just been sitting there inside myself, just thinking, just drifting, just sitting there, allowing my head to talk to me. And it's been very enjoyable. So, I think you need to put your attention into things. And there's a Bible verse that talked about you can't love two masters, or you hate one and serve the other, and despise one and love the other. And I think that's the case when it comes to attention, is where you put your attention in a major sense is where your heart will be also. And so if you put your attention on finding truth, finding reality, not even pleasant necessarily, but it's real, and you have that infrastructure to be able to filter out the crap or analyze the data for crap and for gems, and be able to do that, if you can put that as your main thing and then go out and do whatever with that kind of a thing on it, your attention will be much better spent, I think. And right now, the idea is, especially in the political world, is to get your attention without thinking. Don't train you to critical think, and get your attention. Are you going to believe what you see and hear and think, or are you going to believe what I tell you? That's what is going on here at this point. That's why the mainstream media are propaganda, and even independent media, they're making money. So I'm not saying that they're not trying to discover truth, but they also want to be popular in order to pay the bills. This is why you're dealing with the devil when you sign on to make money at discovering truth, because that money is going to tell you which way to go. Global warming, a great example. You get money. Your job is to try and find global warming data. That's your job, and you do it and go home. You're not going there trying to find truth. You're going there to do your job. You have been hired to come up with BS at your job. Advertising people. Your job is not to point out the good points of the product they're advertising. No, their job is to get you to buy it. Lie, cheat, steal, whatever. It doesn't matter. Television shows aren't trying to give you art or comedy or so forth on a higher level. They want you to watch, and they will do whatever it takes. It used to be demeaning to women was funny and had it on comedy. So now it's not funny anymore. So now they're demeaning men, and now the men are the idiots on TV, the bimbos, if you will. I mean, it's that's why I can't stand. I can't even tell you what's on television anymore. I can't even tell you the Denver shows and all this. I know nothing. I don't watch any of it. To me, it's ridiculous. Number one thing I watch, if I watch anything, it's YouTube, and I foam through it. I do have my own dumb stuff in there. Oh, you know what? Let me stop this rambling here and get to some meat before I forget. Last week I talked about IBS, right? And I've been a week. I went to bed thinking, how am I going to go to work tomorrow with this pain? And I felt better the next day. And all week, it's a week now, I've been doing better. And I listened with Ron Dolman, who listens to the show, is probably listening now. Kudos. And what he mentioned to me about having, what do you call it, probiotics. I did some research on my own. And this is what I want to tell you what I come up with here. So if somebody was in the chat room talking about ABS, here's what I have done. And I have a week running and doing okay, doing good, right? This is the brand name, Align, okay? But the important part, it would help to put the webpage on, right? The important part is the bottom right here. I'm going to highlight it so you can look at it. It is the actual bacterium, Biodifilbacterium infantis, all right? Now, you can buy a line. It doesn't have to be them, but they have a copyrighted version of it, and I'm not saying it's better or worse than any other one, but that Bifidobacterium infantis has been proven in trials very effective against very, very effective against irritable bowel syndrome. And that's what I'm taking now. Okay, that's one thing. Oops. Shift is another one. Shift. My sister found this one. The digestive advantage, but what you need to do is to buy the one that only has this on here. Bacillus coagulans. I'm reading it wrong. I'm terrible, okay? Coagulans. This particular, again, it's copyrighted or patented or whatever, but this particular one has a great aspect of dealing with emotional upset in the gut. And the gut and the brain is related. The gut and the immune system are all tied in. And so remember, if you get upset, how your gut can start churning? It works the other way. It's above and below. So this stuff, I have found that if I have some kind of upset that's happening in my life, this has actually helped to calm down. Like you take it at night, next day you feel better. Plus, it has the same kind of digestive helping on it. So I wanted to mention this. Digestive Advantage is not that expensive. You just take one. I take this one at night. Take one at night. This is the one that Ron Dolman recommended. Dynamic Balance Soil-Based Organisms. This is a wide spectrum of probiotics, and it is grown in wheatgrass as opposed to milk. So if somebody has problem with milk, they may have problem with some probiotics. This one is actually in a soil-based deal. Now, there's also 20 trace minerals, too, so that's a double whammy for that. There's 5 billion per thing. I take one a day, and it's $11. This is from Swanson. This is their brand. $11, and you can compare when you look this stuff up. You have the links. You can compare the actual items in it for that. And there's one other one that I have because I bought these already, and I've had it. This is Dr. Stephen Langer's Ultimate 16 Stray Probiotics. Turns out this does have the infantis in it. It's 90 million. That's another thing. The tests were done with about 1 billion, and that when you have more than 1 billion, it didn't help any better, and in fact, in some cases, worse. So it's not about having 80 trillion of these. It's having the actual ones that are good. So I thought this one is a good all-around balance. It has a bunch of renowned ones in here. Plus, it does have that infantis in there. So if somebody wants to say, I can only get one, this may be the one. Though Ron will disagree. and say, if you're going to get one, this is the one. So you might want to take his word for it. He's been in the archives many times about things. Self-made guy who cured a lot of his own problems. And then this will help someone who may, this is, to help me, okay? That's all I can tell. I can't say this is going to do it. I can't prescribe it. I can only recommend this is what I'm using. This is what I'm doing. And I've had great results after having, I don't know how many weeks, almost 2 months of turmoil. Boom, here we are. So I wanted to mention that before I forgot on this. Any comments? Let's see, the chat room. We're talking about some of the shows. All right, so I think I pretty much got everything. I kind of talked fast there at the end. I'm trying to respect your time. One of the problems I have when I do some research and I go to sit down and watch a video that talks about QAnon or something, and here's what's coming up, and it's a 2-hour long, I can't do it. I don't have the patience. So God bless you guys for listening, because I don't know. I'm trying to cram it in as best I can and say it from a personal perspective so that I'm not just mouthing someone else's stuff. The stuff that I get has gone in me, been kicked around, and it's coming back out. And I think, to me, that's better than just simply putting up a bunch of stuff and going, here's what these other guys are saying. And, of course, if you don't agree with what it is or it turns out to be false, then it's... But, all right, I think that's it. I don't have... actually, let me look. I wrote to Les, and at the time of my last writing here, I haven't got anything back from him. Okay. No. No Less Visible. Though if you want, I'll put the link to Less Visible's YouTube channel, because he put up a 5-part series on the ineffable. So I'll put up his link in here for Less Visible in his webpage. I just have to remember to do that. So, all right. I appreciate you coming by and talking. Email James at feettothefireradio.com, all spelled out longhand, if you will. I don't always get emails during the week. If you want to get on the Skype, I do put Skype on now and again. You can hook up. We could do something that way. If you're in the United States, I can call you on my cell phone. We can talk. I'm looking for questions. I'm looking for comments, because it's a feed. Somebody asks a question, I'm on it, and I'll learn. I'll do all the stuff. I'll learn all kinds of stuff because of your question. So this is what, rather than me kind of decide what I want to say. What is this? Aristotle. I like Socrates myself. Actually, what if you see my website, I have a picture. What I'm trying to do is I'm trying to look at it in a Socratesian method. However, Socrates would never give you what he thought the answer was. He would just say something like, well, I'm just an old man. What do I know? But he would tear down what you say. What I'm trying to do is, I don't want to tear down what you say, but I want to analyze. But then I'm going to try and offer suggestions that are changing as more information comes in. But there's nothing definitive, because no one knows anything. They just think they do. They know what they know at this moment, and the more information comes in and it changes. So, all right. We'll see you later. Take care. God bless. And see you next week, as Les would say, if there is one. Whoops. It's the wrong refresh. And here we go.